Welcome back. This is the South African Morning. Now, with the invasion of Ukraine, there's been death and destruction not only of human life, but also of wildlife. The National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals in South Africa came together to raise 230,000 rands for Ukraine's animal welfare organization. We're now joined by Keshvi Nair from the NSPCA to take us through the work that they're doing. And Keshvi, thank you for your time and speaking to us this morning. Good morning to you. I suppose let's start here, the importance of also considering animal welfare, because I think it's, probably the norm just to often think about human life and, human beings and livelihoods. But you are touching on another important aspect here of animal welfare.
Good morning, Timilo. Yes, that's quite correct. The NSPCA is the largest animal welfare organization in the Southern Hemisphere. And as such, I think we have a moral duty to come together with other international animal welfare organizations, global leaders in animal welfare, to assist when it comes to devastation such as this, to tragedies such as this. And I think a lot of people, there's no Red Cross or United Nations for animals. And that is why it is the responsibility, the moral duty of global leaders in animal welfare to come together and do something about it. And that is exactly what the National Council of SPCAs has done.
Yeah. And where's the gap right now, Keshvi, in terms of ensuring the safety of animals? And how have you been trying to assist?
Well, it's difficult for other countries to intervene in terms of the safety of animals in Ukraine. We don't have that amount of power. What we can do is just raise funds and try to get that funding over to the animal organizations that are in Ukraine. They obviously need assistance. They couldn't pack up their animals and go. So the best that we can do, because we don't have the power to remove animals or evacuate animals, we can only provide assistance in terms of funding at this point in time.
Yeah, and with that assistance that you're trying to get across to the Ukraine, any challenges that you have encountered so far?
Definitely. There have been some challenges, one of which would be that it's becoming increasingly more difficult for us to contact animal welfare organizations in Ukraine, given the circumstances currently. There's also the fact that these organizations, the animal welfare organizations, cannot access banks and ATMs. So we are working with the Eurogroup for Animals to determine how to get the funding to them directly. There are also fraudsters and scammers out there, and the NSPCA is taking every precaution to ensure that the funding that we have gathered is not given to people who are pretending to be assisting animals in Ukraine. And lastly, the NSPCA has received a considerable amount of criticism from the South African public for raising funds for animals in Ukraine while SPCAs in South Africa are closing. And it's true. There are societies in South Africa that are closing as a result of there being no community support for those SPCAs. Societies depend on their communities in order to keep running. And where SPCAs have closed, I think what the public is missing, the South African public that is that the NSPCA does, wherever possible, try to assist struggling societies. And where the societies have closed, the NSPCA has assured the public that animal cruelty, animal suffering that's been reported to us in those areas will be handled by the council or by local or surrounding SPCAs or by surrounding animal welfare organizations. Yeah. And I think, the suffering or the closing of an SPCA cannot and should not be compared to the suffering and devastation that people and animals in a country that are facing a war. It cannot be. You cannot compare that suffering. Further to this, every South African has the democratic right to decide how, when, and where they will spend their money. And it's an honor and a privilege for the NSPCA to be able to act as a vessel. The money that we've raised doesn't belong to the council. We've donated 30,000. The rest of the money comes from the South African public. And it's an honor and a privilege for us to be able to act as a vessel between South Africa and the Ukraine, for those South Africans that recognize that animals suffer as well. Animals are victims of war as well.
I think before I let you go, let me ask you this. Just paint us a picture briefly if you can. If the animals in the Ukraine right now that need this help desperately, that are currently suffering under this war, don't receive the necessary help that they need as animals, I mean, what could be the dire consequences of this?
The harsh reality, Tumelo, is that they will die. That is the outcome of war. They will die. They need assistance. They need to be able to get funding to get the resource, veterinary care, food. And when this war finally comes to an end, which we really hope will be soon, you know, there are many animal welfare organizations that have been completely destroyed, farms that have been completely destroyed, and they will need that funding to rebuild themselves in order to go forward in the future. So, yeah.
All right, we'll leave it then. I appreciate you speaking to us, Keshvi Nair from the NSPCA. Talking to us about the work that still needs to be done to also, of course, assist with regards to animal welfare. Of course, the NSPCA joining global other organizations in their efforts to also ensure the safety of animals in the Ukraine.
Once again, the NSPCA giving a voice to the voiceless, even over in Ukraine, because even our coverage over there that we had with Jody Jacobs and Sifa Mandla, a lot of people were saying that they wanted to bring pets. They wanted to. People love their pets, but they couldn't. They had to just grab what they could carry, literally, and leave. So the animals abandoned. So well done to Keshvi and the NSPCA for